Good morning, everybody. A man who has heard that one too many times, Tobi Altizer, is with us today.
Yeah, too many times, not just one.
And then Paul Imig for this week's How you doing, Paul?
Grant is fishing, and I'm so glad to see Tobi Altizer, who, Tobi, I could have told you this when we weren't recording, but I'll tell you when we are recording. You did the thing with Bart a week ago. What do you not know? Is there anything in sports that someone could ask you? Because it just seems like if someone's like, hey, so like this random thing, you could do a solid, informative, entertaining 2-3 minutes on anything. Is that true, or what would be your blind spot? I have to ask you.
Lacrosse. I don't know professional lacrosse. I can't give you tactics in hockey. I don't know players outside of the Capitals a whole lot. I know the Stars. Not the Dallas Stars, that is, but just the general stars of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I pretty much can cover a lot of things. So I would say yes.
I remember when you were at the Fan, and I think you got or maybe you were just relieving, but you got a call to do something in, I want to say, Atlanta on like 5 minutes notice or something really short. Bart, do you remember this? Tobi, do you remember this?
South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina.
Yeah, and it was
upstate.
And it was just like, yeah, like just jump in and just let's start talking about what's going on in the area. You could have fooled anybody. Anyway.
Well, that's one thing that has helped me to make this about me.
Yeah, you should. Why wouldn't you?
Please do.
Is that in doing these national shows, like everything, I watch all this college football for years. I watch every NFL game. I'm so invested in the NBA and MLB that like doing these national shows, it's like, thank God, finally now I have a way to release that information. It's like, because I got it, like justifies, because I'll be watching Clemson, Florida State one night, and my wife's like, does this count as work? I'm like, I don't know. I want to watch it, so maybe. And then like 3 years later, it's like, oh yeah, that game between those two. Yeah.
Well, it might count as work pretty soon, because who knows what's going to happen with the ACC? Maybe one of those teams joins the Big Ten.
Yeah, that shit's pissing me off.
Speaking of blind spots, college football, me. I get to know the drafted players. Like I study them once they're like draft eligible, but I don't know how you. I wish I liked it. I wish I liked college football.
It's so great. The games take so damn long.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, baseball's too long, but college football, which is longer, is perfectly.
College football games are going to be like twice the length of baseball games
for sure.
And nobody cares.
Even in college, I would go to Badgers football games, and you'd be at like the 3 hour and 45-minute mark of the game, and you'd be like midway through the fourth. And I was, even as like a 19-year-old, I'd be like, this is just too long. Well, I mean, 4 years later, I was an NFL reporter. Like I loved football. I love football, but I was like, I can't do this. Like
maybe you got to play some daily fantasies. That'll help.
It would. I mean, definitely. I mean, in all sincerity,
I'm going to know a lot more about the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns, because I'm going to be starting their third string running back in the Hall of Fame game.
I will say, once we started doing the Dynasty League a couple years ago, the first of the two that we're in together, Bart, I mean, it just helps. It just changes the way you absorb who players are and depth charts, and it is helpful. Like, I mean, I like it.
I do want to mention on the Dan Schani YouTube stream, I'm wearing my 4Golf quarter zip.
Oh, yeah.
4golfapparel.com, promo code Bart. They've got good golf wares.
Apparel?
They would wish I said it. But no, I wore the palm tree one. They call that the Miami Nice one. I wore that the other day. I'm wearing this. They got new stuff coming out. So just one of the partners of the Bart Winkler Show, 4golfapparel.com. You can get 10% off your orders. And they've already made sure, like, the same thing with Happy Place Hemp. They've made it as like little as they can to make it affordable for people. And then you still get a promo code. So you can check that out, 4Golf Apparel, FORE.com, promo code Bart. Do you have a lot of Brewers? Because we got to congratulate Tobi for winning 2 of 3
I do have
Nationals.
I do have a Brewers. I thought we would naturally start Packers, but we can start.
Well, I just want to. We can start Packers, but I just want to.
No, we'll get into it.
What a tremendous series win that was for the Nats.
You know what, Bart? At this point of the season with the Nationals, I don't even know if I care about any wins or losses. It's about growing the young guys. So, I mean, it sucks for the Brew Crew that they lost 2 or 3 to the Nationals, but I'm not like thrilled today that they beat the Brewers in the series.
Well, when you look at the lineup, everyone's like, "Oh, it's a Double-A team." There's a lot of good talent there. Paul, this is your perfect kind of dynasty team here.
Yeah.
And then they got some kid from Wisconsin. Apparently, I never knew he was from Wisconsin or heard of him. But
who
he scored?
Who?
Alex Call.
Alex Call. Yeah, he's.
Oh, really? Where did he go?
He's a Wisconsinite. I can't remember. I think he grew up somewhere closer to Minnesota.
He grew up in Burnsville, Minnesota. That's where he was born.
Okay.
He went to River Falls.
Where's that?
North.
In Grant Bill's world?
Yeah. Yeah.
Up north. Is it technically up north? Is it north of Highway 8 or whatever the hell you guys talked about that one time?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
You can take Alex Call if you'd like, because I feel like there's a perfect marketing campaign with Alex Call if he were with the Brewers. Pretty easy one. I'll just leave that to your imagination.
I got it. I'm with you.
So
and also you can take
Gruber.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Gruber is one of the reads that I do when I go to Forward Madison. It's like an hour of me doing reads. As you enter the stadium, I'm doing reads. It's like Don's Home Furniture voted best in Madison furniture 7 years in a row. And then have you ever wanted to pay less for your mattress? Try Verlo mattress, So I do that for an hour. And one of them is Gruber. And the guy, because in the press box and the mic's off, I'll always be like, one call, that's all. He's like, do that over the speaker. And I just can't.
Why?
Because I do maintain maybe the highest level of professionalism that I know how to be when I am in that.
So you're pretty close to doing it is what I'm hearing.
I would like to do it, but I just can't.
The other guy that you could take from a DC area team that would be easy marketing, Cameron Cheeseman, long snapper for the Commanders. Pretty easy jersey sell there for the Packers.
Yep.
All right, let's do the show.
It's like, who was the guy in the Packers? DeBeer. Remember DeBeer?
Gerald DeBeer. Gerard DeBeer.
Great name. All right. So, Bart, I was listening to your segment with Paul Brettel, who hopefully has picked up his Winkler bump of 2 to 3, maybe 4 YouTube subscribers. I don't know if you've done a count.
I haven't gone and checked.
Now, it's still early, technically speaking, from when that aired. So maybe the Winkler bump. Toby, have you followed it?
I've not. No.
It looks like he's lost subscribers. What the hell did I do to this guy?
All of his metrics are way down since joining.
Oops. Sorry, Paul.
Not me, the other Paul. Yeah. But he said something that for the first time, and I mean this very sincerely, for the first time, you were asking about how good or not good the Packers are. What was his read on the team? And for the first time, you know what it was? I remember exactly what it was. He was talking about how Shanahan took, Garoppolo and Purdy and took these below average quarterbacks to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. And I at no point have been even remotely considered, in all seriousness, the Packers making some surprise run to the Super Bowl or to the NFC Championship game. But this kind of got me thinking that, at least not oh, they're a Super Bowl contender, but they are actually, I know you think that Dario made this survey up, but that the Packers are the 4th best roster in the NFL if you don't include quarterbacks. And then, Bart, you've been saying a lot of things what if Jordan Love just actually comes out in week 1 and has 3 or 4 touchdowns and looks like what then? No one would be, from a narrative perspective, prepared for that. So anyway, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, the Packers are a Super Bowl contender, but I've at least now for the first time entertained the notion. So I ask you this. Packers make it to the Super Bowl. They play the Jets.
Get the fuck out of here.
This would be like,
get out.
Though it's a great scenario, Packers in the Super Bowl. This is like the worst case scenario for the season. It would drive you absolutely, perhaps certifiably insane. That would be a good viewing fan experience for you. Packers have this miraculous season, and now they have to do 2 weeks of Rodgers. Anyway, this is where my head went when I was listening to you and Paul Brown.
I don't want to like say something and then have it. But if it's the weekend of the championship games, and like the Jets won first,
I
might like root for the Packers to lose.
That is exactly where I thought you might go.
I mean, don't be a Bart's a bad fan. I don't know. That would be the Packers Jets Super Bowl would be the dumbest thing that could ever happen.
Totally.
And it would be 2 weeks of relitigating everything that had ever happened. So take all the Rodgers stories.
Yep.
From the last 16 years. And at least we had we could breathe before we got to the new one. It would be everything in 2 weeks, crammed in, all the remember thises and the remember whens. New stories would come out. He'd say something. It'd get blown up. It would be Brett Favre would chime in.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, another guy that played for both teams we would probably hear from, Packers legend Ken O'Brien.
Sure. Kenny O.B.
would chime in. It would be awful.
So
and so that would be one of the things where the joy of winning, I don't know if it would make up for the fear of losing.
Yeah, you've always been a fear of losing guy. That's why I remember.
I don't like worrying. Worrying in general is a waste of time, because if something happens, it's going to be awful, but you've already experienced it. So it's like happening to you twice.
Totally.
Because you've already worried about it. And if you don't worry about it, then it doesn't happen. I always say, like, I can't live in a world. I can't live in a world where these Giants beat the Patriots. That was like when they were 17-0 or whatever.
Yeah.
That sucked. It would suck. What's your question? This would suck. Why are you doing this to me?
This is where my head went of like, oh my gosh, maybe. Well, I mean, the Jets are going to have a lot of coverage, right? Hard Knocks, and Rodgers makes Sean Payton stories into Aaron Rodgers stories. And like Rodgers restructures his contract. He's talking about playing multiple years. So it was Rodgers' third season as starter that the Packers went to the Super Bowl. Maybe like very optimistically, let's say that one of the first 3 years as a starter, Jordan Love does the same thing, and Rodgers is still in New York. I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit. I do think Rodgers will be good with the Jets. I think the Jets will be good as a team. So I just wanted to explore this idea of, would you rather just the Packers have I'd
rather they won the Super Bowl.
Right, but like I remember it was Toby, you might have been producing at the time. Bart, it was like leading into Packers Vikings. There was a possibility it could have been Packers Vikings. There was some kind of something, and you wanted the Vikings to lose more than you wanted the Packers to win. I know you kind of always have that type of perspective, and so I just thought, like, literally, though there's this tremendous outcome of like the Packers reaching the Super Bowl, my first thought just went to, yeah, but what if it's against the Jets, and how horrible would Bart's 2 weeks of life be?
Here's what I want. Here's what I want.
Okay.
If the Super Bowl matchup is Packers-Jets, I would like to be put into a coma the minute that happens. So I missed the 2 weeks. If the Packers win, wake me up, and please have DVR'd the game so I can watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But wake me up. And if the Jets win, keep me there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the worst 2 weeks in Wisconsin. I'd be so thankful I'm not there.
Mm-hmm. That would be
But at the same point, if the Packers were to win, it would justify everything. So, it'd almost be like you could look back and be like, well, it sucked at the time, but it was worth it. I mean, chances are not going to happen, but if it did, it'd be awful 2 weeks, and it would be even worse if the Packers didn't win.
Toby, how are you, as a DC guy who became a Wisconsin guy for a while, how are you how are you processing like your fandom as it relates to the Rodgers, the Jets, the Hard Knocks, all the stuff that goes on? Are you rooting for Rodgers? What is your...
We're at least we are doing a Hard Knocks post-game show, at least the first one.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. So how are you rooting or not rooting for this situation, Toby?
I'm a Rodgers guy, so I like Rodgers, so I'll be cheering for him. I've always enjoyed how he plays the game of football, and I'll be cheering for the Packers as well. I mean, I want both of those teams to do well, and I think both teams will do well. Like you were saying, I think some people are acting as if Brett Favre. Almost called Aaron Rodgers Brett Favre. Jeez.
How dare you?
It almost seems like some people think that Aaron Rodgers is completely gone. That's not the case. He was playing a lot of last year injured on his throwing hand with a thumb. So, I mean, how much can you take of it? And, we've spent plenty of time on that narrative, but he's got playmakers out there in New York. But at the same point, I think that Jordan Love has had enough time to develop, and I think he's going to be a good quarterback for the Packers. It might be a little bit turbulent early, but I mean, there's no reason to think that if he can't improve as the season goes on, that they can't be a playoff team. So I'm rooting for both teams. I hope that they both do well, and I love watching Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be tough to do anything in that loaded AFC.
Here's something that I think people need to watch, because there's not a real incentive rooting for or rooting against, other than if the Packers, if the Jets are bad, the Packers get better picks.
If Rodgers plays.
Right. Well, still, what is it, a second otherwise?
Yeah, it'd be a second. Yeah, either way, you're right.
So you want Rodgers to hit the 65%. You want him to do bad so that the picks are better. The Packers are not scheduled to play the Jets
until the Super Bowl.
Until the Super Bowl. But next year, on the Packers schedule, they play the what division? They play the AFC South in 2024, okay? They also play one team from the AFC East to be determined.
Well, that's not to be determined. We know who that is.
Why?
It's going to be the Jets.
Well, it'll be by schedule.
Isn't it based on like the fourth place NFC North team plays the fourth place?
They'll find some way to make it the Jets.
Yeah, they'll change the rule. They'll be like, the scheduling thing, Packers should play the Jets.
Would there be a more highly rated game possible? Like, take any combination of matchups than Rodgers and the Jets at Lambeau for
2023 or 4? Because we saw that with Brady and the Patriots.
Right.
Yeah, you got Adele songs made about it. You got promotions out the wazoo.
Yeah. I just think it'll be even, forget 2024 regular season. I think it'll be cool when it's Packers Jets February 10th, 2024 in the Super Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you what will be cool is when you get ready for that Super Bowl, when you start grilling out with Omaha steaks.
Oh, you're completely there you are. Your green screen.
That's much better. I like that.
OmahaSteaks.com. The promo code is Bart. This is what you guys do. You go to OmahaSteaks.com. Right at the top of that search bar, you type in Bart. Then you can go to the Bart Winkler podcast. It pops right up. It's got this package for you with the butcher's cut filet mignons, the air-chilled boneless chicken breast, the bacon wrapped pork chops, the gourmet franks. That's normally $260. You get it with the code for $129. And then you also get 8 more burgers and 8 more franks. So they throw that in. So promo code Bart. Get your rest of the summer meat fixins at Omaha Steaks. I will need to be putting in an order for the tailgate that we're going to have on August 23rd. Toby, you won't be in town. Paul, do you want to go? You want a ticket? 23rd. You've muted yourself.
That's just so people didn't have to hear me eat leftover lasagna. When is the date? When is the date again?
The Wednesday, the 23rd.
Okay, let me take a gander.
Now, by the time this episode posts, I would hope that the link is live. The Brewers are creating a link to buy the tickets in the bleachers, 102, 103, right field side.
And why is there not a rented suite?
Yeah, seriously.
Maybe next year once this podcast grows. If you want a rented suite next year, you need to share this with all your friends.
Uh-huh.
And tell them about next Friday night, when not only will I be doing the Zach Gelb show on the 11th, but I will then do a Packers preseason postgame show on Friday night at 9.
Oh, cool.
I am debating, and I think I am going to reserve. I think in the Euchre lot, I can get there an hour early to set up and reserve 4 extra chair spots for $110. I think I'm going to do that.
Cool. I also heard that you took me up on my advice of a Saturday noon preseason game with the youngin.
Yes, I'm going to do that. I don't have the tickets yet, but I will get them.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's the perfect time to introduce them to.
I would much rather do that than family night.
Yeah, totally.
You don't want to watch Jordan Love throwing the ball into a net? Come on. That's the Green Bay training camp tradition.
And really, a preseason game is not that much more than the $10 that family night is. You can find a pretty good ticket for not much beyond.
Oh, I also think that I may be doing something this Saturday. This should not be for public announcement, but I may be taking my son to Chuck E. Cheese.
Where is there one still?
There's one First, Chase Avenue. There's a little tucked in area near Bayview with a Target and a Home Depot and a Wendy's. And there's a little Chuck E. Cheese tucked away.
See, I have such fond memories of Chuck E. Cheese. I don't want to go in there and have it be this total dive, which I think it might be. I don't know. I'll be very curious if
I'll have a full report on Monday's episode.
I'm totally serious. And then afterwards, if only you could take him to Toys R Us, then my childhood would be complete.
Yes, Toys R Us. KB Toys.
What's that one?
Oh, KB Toys was in the Forest Mall right next to Aladdin's Castle.
No, I had Aladdin's Castle in Sheboygan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I still have an Aladdin's Castle coin.
My favorite part of growing up was, Christmas time, and my mom would hand me the catalogs of those various places, I'd look through it and be like, "But Mom, I want a Clinton Portis jersey."
Toby, weren't malls dead by the time that you were a kid?
To an extent.
You didn't have the same childhood.
But no, I look through. I mean, to an extent, I look through catalogs.
You didn't have the Sears catalog.
I looked through some catalogs for Toys R Us growing up, and I'd be like, I don't want any of this. Get me another football.
You guys want to see the biggest waste of money?
Uh-oh.
That I have? Are we going to ask Toby a question?
No, go for it.
Biggest waste of money. My senior class ring.
Oh, I definitely did not do that.
Yeah, me either.
It says Bart with a soccer ball. Cardinal red. What does it say on it? School. I can't even read it. Oh, it says Goodrich High School, which is interesting since I didn't graduate from Goodrich High School. Goodrich was torn down my senior year. So I went to Goodrich sophomore and junior year, and then Fondy High senior year.
Really?
Yep. 2002 with a Cardinal, and I believe my signature is engraved in it. So I will be wearing this with pride.
Yes, as you should.
No, as you should not.
It does not even fit anymore. Maybe I'll use this as a giveaway. Yeah. The first person that orders a shirt from 4 Golf Apparel.
No, wait.
Can have my class ring.
Wait, how about this? the person who organizes and at least pays for the majority of a Brewers suite, as opposed to slumming it in the bleachers. Who's the? I listen to all the voices on your podcast, Bart. Is that Matt or is that Jake who will not sit in the bleachers?
Oh, I think Jake didn't want to.
Is that Jake?
You can also get this newspaper cutout. When I rallied at the state capitol, there I am in the middle against smoking. Fond du Lac students rally at Capitol against tobacco.
Like, what about tobacco? Like in
Getting
public?
it out of, this was a part of, it was called Moving Targets. This was a thing, and the prop comedy. So Dan Schani YouTube stream maybe for this portion of the show, but we would take stickers. This was when, Toby, before you were alive, magazines used to have cigarette advertisements in them. We would put stickers. We would go through the different doctor offices in Fond du Lac and put stickers on them saying, don't smoke. And then we tried to get it banned from restaurants.
Well done.
I'm with you on the banning it from restaurants. That's good work for sure.
Mm-hmm. I believe I was quoted in this, but it does not appear so. Here it is. Okay. Here it is. I'm a big fucking nerd. I can't wait to buy my class ring for $300, said Winkler.
That sounds right. Shall I continue?
I'll also throw in the name tag from when I worked at Cops Foods. All right, enough of that. I'm like in my basement sitting by my memento.
How many, like, what would a listener have to do to get your air check calls from when you were a cable?
Oh, if I had them, you don't think I would have played those by now? I would have played those.
Yeah.
All right. Omaha Steaks, promo code Bart.
There you go. We would have had a pretty good segue a few minutes ago, but Bart, you and I have been disagreeing far too much on this podcast recently. So I just want to ask one that we agree on, and then I want to hear Toby's perspective. I'm fine missing out on a first-round pick if it means absolute disaster for Rodgers and the Jets. Or
Yes, I know that the future of the Packers is better served. The better the pick is, so 65%. But there would be like, I have to look at it as this. I am a Packers fan, and so I want what's best for the Packers. But what I'm a fan of even more is me, and so I want what's best for me. And what's best for me is the Jets to fail just in an epic way, where Rodgers looks terrible, where he says a bunch of stuff that reflects on all the things I've been saying about him. So I'm a Packers fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Packers owner, but I'm also an owner of me. I'm me. So I root for me.
Yeah, I mean, Personally, I've never hated a player like Packers fans hate. Well, I take that back. I have hated players, but they're not good players. Like I hated.
Yeah,
Albert
like this guy
Hainsworth.
won us the Super Bowl and he's a 4-time MVP, and we hate him.
Like I hated Albert Hainsworth, but he sucked. So like, who cares? You know.
And he took all the team's salary cap space for all those years, and he was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it'd be like if you hated Joe Theismann, you were like, well, you shouldn't have got your leg cracked open, you fucking idiot.
I have stories we could share, but I'm not going to share them on here.
Shit, do it.
I don't hate
listening.
I don't hate Joe Theismann, but we have him on the show every now and then, and I don't want that to end because I'm blabbering on the Bart Winkler Show podcast.
I thought he was part of the best NFL booth ever between him, Mike Patrick, and Paul McGuire. Sunday Night Football 90s.
Yeah, I didn't get to experience that.
I almost feel like that should make us ask about the new NBA lead broadcasting team, if you want. But I think Bart and I disagree on that, so I'm sick of disagreeing with Bart. I
did not do that. The NBA improved their finals broadcast.
The NBA improved their finals broadcasting team by replacing Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson with Doris Burke and Doc Rivers.
No, women shouldn't be allowed to.
Oh my!
What? Where do you think I was going with that?
Am I gonna have to hop off this
She
podcast?
used men's restrooms. That's what I was gonna say. They have their own. Doris Burke.
Tim,
Isn't
cut that.
good.
Tim, cut that in post. Tim.
Doris Burke isn't even that good. I don't get the appeal of Doris Burke.
You don't like when she
Pat
says she's
McAfee?
taking it. You don't like when she says that he's taking it to the cup for the 15th time.
Taking
Yeah,
it to the cup.
I don't like when she's like goo goo gaga for Jason Tatum and can't speak because he's playing so well. Pat McAfee had a tweet that got dug up from like 10 years ago. How about he's like, I'm so bored by Doris Burke, and now they're like teammates.
That's why you stay off Twitter, Bart.
McAfee had some tweet about Larry Nassar.
Nasser.
I call him Nassar. I've heard it both ways. And it was like an insensitive tweet, and then he gets on the show the next day. He's like, like the way that he defends himself is like, just be like, yeah, the tweet was dumb.
It was incredibly stupid too. I don't understand what he was trying to do by it.
Yeah, it was really weird. He said that he designed the jerseys.
Yeah, terrible.
But then he sometimes when people are wrong, they go, man, that was dumb.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they're like, to even question my wrongness, and then they put up moats and then triple down on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that show do that a few times.
Hey, Bart, how do you feel about a cross-promotional here? You know what? I'm going to text this to you, and then you can determine. We should mention this if you're comfortable mentioning this based on where this just happened. All right, check your phone.
I am checking my phone.
Check your telephone, your cellular. I sent this one to your cellular phone, not your landline that I sometimes message you on.
Mark Murphy was on 97.3 The Game.
There you go.
His hopes for the Jets, 65%. Honestly, I hope everything goes well, but it would be really good if the Jets have a bad year because we'd get a very high pick.
So what is Mark Murphy hoping for? 65%, which is so perfect because what are your hopes for the Jets this year? 65%. So it kind of goes back to what we just talked about, a few minutes ago, which is like, if you're a Packers fan, do you want Rodgers to, get hurt or not be able to play, whatever? I know people like people rooting for people to get hurt, but like if Rodgers has something happen where he can't play the whole year and the Jets are terrible and the whole thing is disaster, that's good in the sense of Packers fans who don't want Rodgers to succeed, don't want the Jets to succeed, but it also means that you're settling for a second-round pick and not a first-round pick. Obviously, the best of both worlds is that Rodgers.
Murphy will get clowned for this, but God bless him. I mean,
no, I like it. I mean, but this is another one of those things, Bart, that we talk. By the way, by the time people are listening to this podcast, I'm guessing that this will be a very relatively viral clip.
Yeah. Oh, it's already doing huge numbers.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. That's great for Steve and Josh to sit down with Wayne Larrivee and Mark Murphy. That's so well deserved. For two, especially Steven, for how much he loves the Packers and truly is cherishing every moment he gets to be given this incredible access. I'm so happy for him. I love when good people work hard and get what they deserve.
I have an actual Packers question. Toby, any thoughts on anything that's been said before we continue?
Not particularly, no.
Yeah, that makes sense. Considering that it's just been nonsensical here for a while. Actual Packers question. There's another podcast, Bart, on the Blue Wire Network that I very much enjoy. It's called the Pack-A-Day Podcast.
Oh, Andy Herman.
Andy Herman.
Wonderful cast of characters.
Yes, sir. He asked a hypothetical question on a recent episode of his that, rhetorical, I think would be a rhetorical question, but I want to answer it for him and maybe for you. And what he asked was, if you could only get training camp coverage about either Jordan Love or everybody else on the team, So if you pick everybody else on the team, you don't get any Jordan Love clips. You get no Jordan Love updates, but you get everything else, or you get Jordan Love, but you get nobody else. Andy's assumption was that a lot of people would choose Jordan Love and nothing else, which of course is a huge distinction from previous years where it's like, Bart, you said the other day, like, oh, Rodgers throws the ball into tight coverage in his 16th NFL season. Like, who gives a shit, right? All right, so if you can only get training camp updates about either Jordan Love or the rest of the team, can't have them both, you would take the Jordan Love highlights and updates and nothing from the rest of the team. Or
Well, what would Toby do with Sam Howell? Would you only want your boy Sam Howell, or would you want?
Yeah, I mean, I went out to training camp the last couple of days, and the only reason I was intent on getting out there, the offensive lines questions, whatever, I wanted to see what Sam Howell looked like. So, in my opinion, if you're a Packers fan, like, you kind of know what Christian Watson is, you kind of know what Romeo Doubs is, you kind of know what some of these other guys are. You've seen them before. I want to know what Jordan Love looks like. So 100% would say I need all the quarterback content possible because that's the most important position, and there's so much uncertainty around it.
Toby, are you going to Commanders camp anymore?
I probably will at some point, yeah.
Why don't you take some videos and send them to me, and I'll put them on my YouTube, and I'll split you the revenue.
It's a good idea, Toby.
Yeah?
Probably not.
Start your own YouTube.
Should I go as a fan and just take video of the entire 11 on 11 despite not, supposing you're not supposed to, and just put it everywhere?
Well, it'll be on my channel. They'll be like, how'd this guy get it? And they'll be like, isn't Toby friends with Bart? And they'll be like, why would Toby be friends with that guy?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Is that the same podcast where he talked shit about Joe Theismann?
I did not say anything bad about Joe Theismann.
That's true. He did not.
He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
He is. I would subscribe to the Love stuff. I would rather know that. I think there's some interesting battles, but honestly, like, I don't give a shit where Zach Tom's going to play. I don't care. Like, I don't care about who's leading the safety stuff. I do.
I mean, you do.
I do. In week one. Show me in week one.
Sure.
But right now, right now, I'm going to clown all these people for dissecting every Jordan Love throw, but after family night, but shit, I should do that, honestly. And then watermark it, even though I don't have the rights to the video.
If I had the opportunity, I would have said last year that I would have just preferred to see all Kurt Benkert content. Right, Bart?
Well, Kurt Benkert tried to change the Packers social media, but that's just not how things work in Green Bay.
Bart and I are big Kurt Benkert stands.
Why doesn't if Kurt Benkert is so good, if he's so, why doesn't he go play in the XFL or USFL? Oh, he did, and he didn't start. Never mind.
Is that right?
Taylor Heineke. I think the NFL's missing out.
Wait.
No, Benkert played in the XFL. He was 1 for 6 and threw a pick. Then the next game he started, and he broke his ribs.
Ooh.
But played another 2 quarters and then left.
Ooh.
Never mind. Never mind. Kurt Benkert, 62% career completion percentage in the XFL, 1 touchdown, 2 passes, a 60 rating. Never mind.
Toby, what quarterback did you just say also played there?
Taylor Heineke played in the XFL, and he didn't start.
He did. He backed up Jordan Tiamu
with the St. Louis Battlehawks.
How many years ago?
2020.
The 2020 year.
Mm-hmm. And then came in the next year to Lambeau as the starter for Washington?
A couple years, I believe. I'm not sure exactly the timeline because I can't remember. What was it?
What was the COVID year? Wasn't that?
I think he got signed late in that COVID year because he started against Tom Brady in the playoffs.
And then they beat us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I believe that would be correct.
Is he still your backup in Washington?
No, he's in Atlanta. He's going to take Desmond Ritter's job.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, because my complaint all offseason has been how people talk about Washington and say that they think they have a good defense and the quarterback's uncertain, so they have no idea what to do and how to judge them. And then they go and talk about Atlanta and say, oh, they're a sleeper. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
Atlanta
don't
has-
like the Falcons right now. I have everything against them.
Now, as a
Atlanta has-
college football watcher, Paul, I will say that Desmond Ridder, and this is specifically DraftKings influence too, is that Cincinnati was doing very well that year that they eventually made the playoffs. So I started playing Desmond Ridder a lot, and he like did not live up to expectations, fantasy or otherwise. They barely like got through a lot of those games. So a lot of my thoughts on Desmond Ridder is that I don't think he's stepped up to what he should have been in college. So I might agree with Toby that you might see Heineke soon.
What pick was Ridder, 3rd or 5th round, somewhere in that range, right?
3rd round, 5th rounder for Sam Howell, who's going to outperform him significantly this year.
Yeah. Is Carson Wentz going to ever play in the NFL again?
I was going to ask you that same thing 1 minute ago, but say XFL or USFL. Why doesn't he do that?
There you go.
Why doesn't he? Why don't he go out there and ball out? Unless you're worried that you're going to suck.
Just go hang out at home. How old is he?
Why does Messi play in the MLS?
He's 30. I just looked the other
run
day.
around and score goals.
That's totally different. He's like he's still enjoying playing and all that. I think Carson Wentz just wants to go chill at home and go hunting like that. That's what he wants to do.
I did buy the MLS season pass. I'm already an Apple TV Plus subscriber. That's how I was able to watch the greatest show of all time, Severance. I actually have not seen any other shows on Apple TV Plus. Ted Lasso, but I haven't watched season 3 because I heard it was bad.
It's a lot better than season 2, which was total dog shit.
Really?
When I'm on the last episode of season 3 of Ted Lasso, I loved season 1, absolutely hated season 2, and season 3 is not nearly as good as season 1, but a big improvement from season 2.
Aren't the episodes like an hour long and just drawn out?
I definitely felt that way in season 2. I think season 3's it's had its gaps where it's like, okay, you could have cut all of that. But no, it's much better than season 2, which I just hated. No, you remember what I said at the time where it was like, well, I won't. Toby, have you seen the show? Do you care about the show?
Don't care.
I didn't like watching Nate become a villain.
But isn't in season 3, don't they like nerf him right away?
No.
Doesn't he join forces with Ted pretty quick?
No, like 3/4 of the way in.
Oh, geez, spoiler.
Well, you're the one that said it.
That I asked for.
Yeah,
HappyPlaceHemp.com. Promo code is Bart. The spoiler there is that you still get 25% off, even though they've already lowered their prices. You get 25% off every single order. The gummies, the tinctures, the balms, whatever you need, they've got it available for you. We will never be able to enjoy dispensaries in Wisconsin until it becomes federal. And even then, our legislator will probably find a way to have Wisconsin exempt because the Tavern League of Wisconsin rules the day and you're all subject to their army. So in the meantime, enjoy what you can at happyplacehemp.com. Promo code is Bart. And who needs that other stuff when you got the gummies? That's how I feel. Gummies at Happy Place Hemp. The promo code is Bart.
I didn't answer the topic about Jordan Love versus the field in terms of training camp coverage. I mean, I'm conflicted because of, former beat guy. I think as a beat reporter, you'd have to say, what if you ask that question to, let's be honest, what if you ask that question to Schneidman, to Domofsky, all your favorite guys, Bart, who are on the beat?
Well, I can't.
I know you can't.
I'm blocked by both.
Let's say you could. What you'd have to take, I don't know. I don't know what the right beat reporter answer is. I think
Let's go back to the Fond du Lac Reporter that I was in.
Okay.
Look at this non-smoking graphic.
Zoom out. There you go.
There you go.
Like, who was employed by this paper back then? That is as clip art as it gets.
Paul, to your points, I feel like the beat reporter thing is you still need to know the quarterback position because that can determine what happens during the season. Game 1 of this, week 1, Jordan Love struggles, and you're like, yeah, we saw this all throughout camp, or week 5 he makes a nice throw down the sideline. You're like, oh yeah, we saw some glimpses of that during camp.
Yeah,
I feel like reporting on how Jair Alexander looks or how how the tight ends are looking. I mean that kind of whatever, but the quarterback position is so important.
Well, it's so important, and it's more important than anything else. the quarterback position is already more important. And then now you're moving on from Rodgers to Jordan Love. And there's a lot of intrigue and mystery as to what he's going to be like. It is like none of the other things matter. Oh, Carlson's mixing kicks. Who's returning kicks? Who's like stepping up? Oh, this guy's made that guy expendable. Kenny Clark's moving over there. Where's Zach Tom playing? Who's getting the reps over in the slot? None of that matters if Jordan Love is bad.
Yeah, like I heard you mention, so like there's a lot of cool clips on Twitter of, some of the good throws, great throws Jordan Love has made. And then Paul Brettel said on your show, yeah, but then he also threw him right into Devontae Wyatt's tummy and like interception and whatever.
Right into his tum-tum, yeah.
By the way, you never throw a pass. This is what I learned in journalism school. You don't ever throw a pass into the stomach because the stomach is an internal organ. It's into the tummy.
How do you feel about my old news director in TV that hated me? She would be mad when people said fled on foot.
As opposed, like, what's the...
Fled. You've already... Fled means you've fled.
I see the distinction.
Yes. Oh, and she would be very upset.
But what if you fled via vehicle or you fled via aircraft?
Fled is about foot, she said. And then the thing that I got annoyed with was when people say, we've been doing this for over 60 years. No, you can't go over years. It's more than 60 years.
Oh, yes, more than. Yes, that's a good one. By the way, flee or fled, run away from a place or situation of danger. Run away from.
Run.
Though I could argue that run. She's probably right. I was going to see if I could come up with some.
Just accept the loss there.
I didn't say fled via foot, Toby. We have some. Yeah. Anyway,
the definition I have for fled is run away and save your life. Run away if you want to survive. It's time to break free. Oh, whoa,
whoa. That's also a good definition, though it kind of feels like song lyrics.
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm not hearing anything.
I'm not either. Probably a good thing. He's going to lose his monetization.
No one hears it?
No.
I see you bopping along.
I was playing Real McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't want to get dinged for copyright on YouTube, so I'll probably edit it out.
Don't mess up your monetization.
We couldn't hear it, so.
All right, so yeah, I think you just have to say the Jordan Love content because you just have to. But I will say, Toby, I don't know if they do this in Washington. I assume they do, but like, you also then aren't watching those pass rush drills, the one-on-one pass rush drills, which are amazing. And one of the fun things to document in Packers camp back in the day was the records, and I'll give Rob Domofsky credit. He always had like full standings of every one-on-one pass rushing snap of who went against who and what their record was. And
it's impressive.
That was always really fun to watch. And of course, a lot of those are like judgment calls, right? Like did he get past him or was he trying to like bring him that way? But you wouldn't have that, but you got to have Jordan Love content. So that's awesome. All right, ready for baseball. And this is where Toby can drop some Nationals knowledge and all that.
I have too much of that.
Bart, ready? Any other Packers thoughts, Bart, for the day?
Yeah, Rodgers won't take a pay cut, and that's why we didn't get J.J. Watt, but go ahead.
The dots do connect.
You would have loved covering a team with J.J. Watt and Aaron Rodgers on the same team.
He would not.
The content would have been fantastic.
That would never happen. Rodgers knew that J.J. Watt was I always say Rodgers is a suck. He like sucks you in. He takes up a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
So does J.J. Watt.
You'd have the philosophical
town's not big enough for the both of them.
Interviews with Rodgers, and then you'd have the corniest interviews with J.J. Watt.
Could you imagine Rodgers giving an interview and like J.J. Watt coming behind him and like giving him a noogie? It would never happen. These two guys they're too big. The Oars are too big to ever have been on the same team.
Yeah.
All right, Brewers.
He's probably right. All right. I wrote this question after the Braves series. It certainly didn't help itself after the Nationals series. Yes, anything can happen in baseball, but watching the Brewers play 2 series recently against the Braves has made it clear that Milwaukee is far from a legitimate contender in 2023. And let me just but let me also add, this was also written like pre-trade deadline, and what it was meant to also encapsulate was the idea that you can make some marginal moves, which they did, but you would want to be very cautious about like, where are we actually? Like, how all in should we really like? The Braves are markedly a better team, so like, let's just accept our place as a National League Central contender, and that's probably the extent of it. But baseball is also like weird, like by far the most unpredictable postseason sport. So just to say it again, yes, anything can happen in baseball, but what you saw in the Brewers and Braves series, not helped by the 2 out of 3 loss in Washington, has made it clear that Milwaukee is far from a legitimate contender in 2023. Or
You know, if they would have said this year for the first time, look, we're trying to make these improvements. We do have a healthy. All right, so I'm Matt Arnold. Okay, I get asked about what are you doing at the deadline? I go, look, this is a team that we like. Is a team that has potential. Where are we at in terms of the rest of the league? I don't know, but I think that these guys deserve a shot. I think that they can make a run, and we're looking at it like, you know, bites of the apple, where we have a good enough team to go and play, and you know, the baseball, it's volatile. We'll see what happens, but we believe in our team. If that's the first time it was ever said, we'd be like, yeah, because we do like these prospects. We do like, you know, they did make some moves, so and I don't think they were just for show. Like, they actually brought in some people that are going to play every day. And it's a very bite to the apple team. The problem is David Stearns traded away his closer, and then they didn't make the playoffs. And then he said bites of the apple. So the branding of it can work for a team like this. This is a bites of the apple team. They are not that good, but they are not that bad. And they can win close games. And they can show you that there's days where they can offensively go. And they are getting Woodruff back. And you can get hot. This team, this team can get hot for a month and go to the World Series. They won't, but they can.
Yeah, I mean, you laid it out, Paul. It's baseball's so funky. You have elite pitching. So if Corbin Burns can get back to it, you know, you get Woody back, you have Freddie get on track. I mean, it's the same thing that I preached all of last year, essentially, before they traded away Hader and took all the air out of the balloon. Is you get into the postseason, you have elite pitching, you've got an all-star closer, and if you can just shut down a team for a couple of games, you don't have to score 6 runs to win. On paper, they're not better than the Braves. There's probably 2 or 3 teams as well you could throw ahead of the Brewers on paper, but you've got good pitching. I think that's what the ultimate thing is you've got something that can stop people with the pitching. I bring that up all the time, but you know, if Burns is on one, even if you're playing the Atlanta Braves, okay, they're going to score 1 or 2 runs in 6 innings. The Brewers can scratch across 2. Like, it doesn't happen enough, but they can scratch across 2 or 3, you'd hope. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of where I look at the Brewers. They're not going to be better than the Braves. They're not going to be better on paper than probably the Dodgers. But anything can happen in baseball, like you said. And when in doubt, I like to side with teams with pitching, and the Brewers have that.
Toby, I know you're like we said earlier, you can pretty much rattle off just about anything that's not lacrosse. I'm trying to think in the last 5 to 10 years of a lineup that like 1 through 6 is as daunting as the Braves right now. Like that, you watch enough, and up until this year, Toby, before the MLB changed its scheduling, like you saw 18 Braves games against the Nationals a year, but like you watch those 6 Brewers Braves games, and it's like that's an onslaught of just dangerous bats. And even like the rookie of the year last year is the 9th hitter who's batting 278 with like a 370 on base, and he's the 9 hitter, and he's having a down season. Man, I'm honestly,
it's not going away. To interrupt you, it's not going away anytime soon, because the Braves bought out the RBers on a lot of these guys and then signed them to a couple more.
I absolutely love the way the Braves have operated.
Ronald Acuna is 25. He's making $17 million the next 5 seasons, 17 flat.
Crazy.
Austin Riley's making $15-20 million. He's 26.
Yeah.
Ozzie Albies is making $7 million each of the next 3 years. Then it's a club option for the next 2 years at $7 million again. Michael Harris making $5 million. They've already bought out his ARB years. I mean, they're going to be Orlando Arcia, $2 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way that you go about doing it. You can keep a team for forever, like you were saying, Bart, because you got to have a little foresight. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out as well as you'd like. The White Sox tried it to an extent with Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert.
Well, the White Sox had it, and then they hired La Russa.
Tony La Russa to ruin it all.
That fucked it all up.
But, I mean, that's the way to do it. And honestly, that's something that the Brewers need to start looking at trying.
Yes. Let's talk about that for a minute if we could. If you were to honestly be able to ask Matt Arnold that question about Frelick, about Garrett Mitchell, who's been out for the past 4 months, honestly, why is Jackson Chourio not locked up to a 15-year deal tomorrow? What else? I mean, like, he's 19 years old and never stepped foot in a major league stadium. Stadium maybe, but not played on one. They did do this with Freddie. Freddie's the guy they did it
Freddie.
with. But yes, they did, but not nearly to the extent of the type of length that you're talking about with the Braves, with Acuna and Albies. Like, this was Peralta was a great deal, for the Brewers and for Freddie for his security. But
I guess they did it with Ashby.
The Rays.
They did do it with Ashby.
It's different though. Like, we're talking about stars. Like, you can do it with some of these lower guys, but like the Rays did it with Wander Franco. And the Diamondbacks did it with Corbin Carroll. And so what does that mean?
Sorry. What was Corbin Carroll's deal? I don't know this one. I'm not up to date on this.
I think he's getting like 13 or 14 a year for the next.
Like, the Brewers should lock up Contreras right now for 5 years.
Oh, well, and they've got him for 5, but just like bring him through his, early 30s, but seriously, like Frelick.
Well, yeah, but so when they buy out these arbitration, usually they buy him out. You don't have to go through the ARB thing. And then they tack on a couple more years.
Well, and
those 2 years are good for the player, but also team friendly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what it means is you're going to pay a little more than the 1 or 2 million they might get in arbitration up front. So you might be paying a guy $6-7 million, but by the end of it, I mean, Ronald Acuna should be making 30-40 million, and he's making 17 for the next couple, like you laid out, Bart. So at the end of it, it ends up being a deal, and that's something that hopefully, if you're the Brewers, like you said, Paul, like you've got to be looking at this with Jackson Chourio. I think at least one of the other outfielders, probably I like Sal Frelick. Sure.
Yeah,
I think you should be looking at something like that, and that's how you can keep guys around for longer and still be able to field a competitive baseball team and spend in other spots.
Yeah, I do hope that. Well, who was it recently? Like, when I say recently, as in the past few years, who was it? Was it the Mariners? Someone got a big deal before they were ever in the major leagues. Who was that? It wasn't Julio Rodriguez, was it? But anyway, like you can do that. Like, let's just be clear. Like, there's nothing stopping the Brewers from giving Chourio 15 years for $150 million. $10 million a season.
Corbin Carroll got one before he ever. 8 years, 111 million. That a club option for the 2031 season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the.
And if you're going to sign a guy like a guy like a Chourio, and you can say, we're going to sign you for 7, 8, 9 years, you can still sell to the guy and his agent that, dude, you're going to hit free agency at 30, 31. The Yankees will still pay you at that age.
Sure.
The Dodgers will still take you for 5 years when you're just turning 30.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to think what Jackson Chourio's signing bonus was as an international player. 1.9 million, and he was 17 at the time. Not bad, but kind of like with Freddie Peralta, who had made a couple $1 million. But if you show him, multiple years of security, something that takes him from, a nice salary into that multi-million per year salary, like, I get why Acuna and Albies, like, I get why they did it. Mm-hmm. Like, I totally get it. It's a win-win. And I'm sure, like, there'd be some agents who would say, like Scott Boras, I'm sure would say, don't you dare. don't, as a player, like, don't you dare consider that, much less do it, because he's trying to maximize value for the entire group of MLB players. But by the way, I don't want to say first impressions of Sal Frelick, because it's been a week and a half or whatever now, and Toby, you got to see him for at least 3 games, maybe more, depending on how much Brewers you've watched outside of National Series. He's the exact type of player I want on my team. Contact, base running, speed, defense. Like, I know the Brewers, like, their first round pick from 2 weeks ago in this year's draft is like this big power hitting 6'5" third baseman. But for the most part, Frelick is the kind of guy who makes baseball fun to watch. Right?
Well,
he's
a complete changeup from what the Brewers have done over the last couple of years, where it's who cares about the batting average, just get on base and hit a lot of dingers, and it doesn't matter if you're slow. It doesn't really matter if you're that great at defense either.
What's going on with this picture here, Bart?
Oh, I was trying something. That's a Omaha Steaks hot dog.
Okay.
So Sal Frelick is not a hot dog. I really like the way that he plays. I really do.
Yeah.
But why can't I see you guys?
I know. All I see is this hot dog.
Oh, crap.
What do they got? Pickles on here? Like full pickles instead of relish? It kind of looks good.
I can't get...
There we go.
There.
But yeah, I think I really do like Sal Frelick, Paul. And I think that when you look at how he can help, you sometimes need a change up from like your regular plan. Like if everyone else in the lineup is hitting home runs, like at some point you need someone to hit for average and get on in front of them too. And I think Frelick can be that guy. And this is what frustrates me so much about last year still, is why did you decide to sell off the closer as opposed to trying inserting Garrett Mitchell or Sal Frelick like they did at the end of the year, and you saw the difference that Garrett Mitchell made? It's like, why didn't you just try that instead of trading off Hader?
So that brings us to a topic Bart hasn't talked enough about, which is the Josh Hader trade.
Well, I am going to wrap up this episode very soon.
I know, I'm just kidding. That's pretty much anyway, I would totally agree with all the things you said. Bart, just give me your 30 seconds or 1 minute on early impressions of Frelick.
Well, he's got a lot to live up to after that first game.
Dude, that Tuesday's game where he threw out the runner at the plate.
I think him and Mitch are going to be fan favorites because they're good-looking men.
Okay.
I mean, they got that dark Italian hair.
Who will be center field? Who will be right field? Frelick and right, Mitchell in center. They're both. And the other thing Toby said about like team speed.
Frelick did go torpedo himself into the boards the other day.
Well, but that's part of what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure I want him to do that forever because his body could break eventually. But man, that's fun to watch. Like, that's fun to watch.
Reminds me of seeing him do that. Reminds me of the youthfulness that Bryce Harper had when he came up and he just played with reckless abandon. You learn how to, deal with that eventually, but it is nice to see and refreshing to see. And I'm sure it energizes a clubhouse when a guy's just running full speed. And if he runs into a wall, whatever, I'm going to try to make plays.
Let me ask you guys this before we wrap up. And again, so Monday's show, I don't know what I'm going to have on it yet. Your Carl's Place voicemails are welcome. carl.et.com/Bart.
What about Hard Knocks content?
Hard Knocks doesn't start till Tuesday.
Oh, it's not Sunday night. It's Tuesday night.
Tuesday night at 9 Central.
Okay.
I will do a live after the Brewers Rockies on Monday. We've been doing like Monday live, so I'll do another Monday live. Should I apply for this job at Shaker's Cigar Bar?
Cigar Bar.
Shaker's has been long regarded as one of the most haunted bars in America. We provide historic and ghost tours. We have several positions open for tour guides. We're looking for people with performance who can memorize a script and think quickly on their feet.
Memorize a script.
Should I be a haunted house tour guide?
Yes. And
just embrace doing weird shit.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, I didn't want to DoorDash because I'd be like, Bart? But I should say, what the fuck? I don't know. Here's your pizza.
Well, and then as you're giving the tour, and if you really want to scare them, just talk about your career.
Yeah. One August morning, we got an email that said team meeting at noon, and we all lost our jobs.
And I wasn't even hosting that day. His producer was.
Yeah. Toby was left stranded so much he had to move to DC.
A recent Hall of Fame inductee was currently on the air when it mysteriously disappeared.
Yes, the station couldn't leverage the fact that they had a NFL Hall of Famer that showed up 5 days a week during the dead of summer to talk about the fucking Brewers.
See,
the sales department was dwindling year after year. They stopped doing a golf outing due to COVID that never came back. Ooh. Bill Michaels left and his salary was never replaced. Rami left the afternoons and there was a rotating host for 6 months in drive time.
And now he's back.
And Toby could have got the job, but then the station crumbled. Woo!
Scary stuff.
Scary to me.
And they got Bart back for various CBS shifts, but not on Sunday because they run BetQL, even though gambling's not illegal or not legal here.
Scary, scary.
Yeah.
By the way, I do get paychecks still from Odyssey. Tremendous company.
Yeah, I do as well, and love it.
You can actually find this podcast on Odyssey as well. You can. It is Spotify, Apple, Odyssey.
Well, isn't that ironic?
All right, boys. Good to see you, Toby. Good to see you, Paul.
Good to see you, Toby. And
good
it's also to see you, Bart.
Good to see you, Bart.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Adios.